Okay, fantastic. So, oh, brilliant. Sue's shared her screen. So this evening, we thought that we would try something a little bit different because our introductions were taking too long. So you've just got pictures of the ladies that are going to be cooking this evening. So I'll just briefly say a couple of words about everybody. So my name's Lindsay. I'm the one on the sort of left of that screen. I used to be a chef. I'm a trained chef, and I said I wasn't ever going to have a Thermomix because I love to cook, and I thought it was going to take all the fun out of it, but I have well and truly proved myself wrong, and I love cooking even more with a Thermomix. And then below me we've got Claire. So Claire is monitoring the chat. Claire was an owner turned advisor, and hasn't looked back. Claire's now a very successful team leader in her own right, and she's actually not in my team. And this is how inclusive we are in Thermomix, because Claire is based down in I'm going to get this wrong, Berkhamsted.
Correct.
In Hertfordshire, or no, Buckinghamshire.
No, Leafy, yes, Hertfordshire.
Leafy Hertfordshire, okay.
Yeah.
And then top centre we've got Sarah. Sarah was one of my owners who actually bought for her husband and for his birthday, and wouldn't let him have a look in. She loved it so much. She was a really crap cook, sorry, excuse my French. And now she is turning out all these amazing dishes, much to the envy of all her friends. So she's gradually working her way through her community of friends, selling them all Thermomixes very successfully because they can't believe what's happened to her. Underneath, we've got Sue Hambleton, who has her own very successful health and wellness business. Sue's a kinesiologist. Again, she's an owner turned advisor. And Sue is our sort of resident health and wellness guru. So if you've got any questions, healthy questions, direct them to Sue. Then we've got Marie. Marie is also a chef. She owns her chocolatier. She owns a business running events such as cocktail making classes and beautiful handmade chocolates, and running chocolate workshops. And Marie joined as an advisor to earn her Thermomix for free initially. Then we've got Linda above Marie. Linda again was an owner, has become an advisor, and it's a recurrent theme really, because we always find owners make the best advisors because we just love sharing this machine and what we've got out of it. So if there's any of you owners on the call this evening that fancy giving that a go, please do let me know, and we can have a little bit more of a chat about how you become an advisor. If you're already an owner, there are two options. You either can earn a second Thermomix for free by making full sales, or you can go straight in as an owner advisor and earn commission from your first sale. So it's just something to think about if you watch this and like what you see, and you think, I'd like to do that as well, it looks like a lot of fun, which it is, then please just have a chat with me afterwards, ping me a message, and I can talk to you about it. And then last but not least, at the bottom we've got Taruna. Taruna is a business coach, and again joined Thermomix last summer to earn her Thermomix for free, and she's a keen foodie. She does a lot of Indian cookery, and yes, having a lot of fun with her Thermomix. So that's the team. Right, should we get rid of that and stop the share? And then we're going to go straight in with some cooking. Actually, no, we're not. We're going to just have a quick look at the Thermomix itself. So the Thermomix, what is the Thermomix all about? It's essentially a smart food processor. And by that, I mean, it does all the functions of a food processor, but it is connected to the Wi-Fi. So we have got a recipe platform containing 70,000 recipes that we have access to, which appears step by step on the screen, and it guides you through the whole process, right from the initial preparation part of a recipe through to the cooking. So it's a food processor that also cooks for you, and it weighs as well. So let me see, Claire, do you think you can spotlight my second camera here on the MacBook to see if I can actually position it so that you can see it side by side? You can sort of pin two at a time. So if you can do that. Can you see two?
I can see two.
Great. Fantastic. Yes, I can see two as well.
That's a very fancy Thermomix. Is that your Thermomix Noir?
Yeah. So this is the Noir. I am breaking a few rules here. I shouldn't be demoing on the Noir, but you know, It's too beautiful not to, isn't it, really? Yeah, it's super sleek with its sort of black gloss finish. And this noir, so this is it's exactly the same model as the white Thermomix, but it's just a different colour, and it's only available till the end of March. So if you are sort of slightly hesitant, sitting on the fence, there's no better time really to jump in, because we're not expecting our stocks to last for very long. So I'll be amazed actually if we get to the end of March, because these have been so successful. Right, so a very quick guide to the Thermomix. Can you see my screen okay? Is that it? Can you see the dials and everything? Okay, so you'll notice that we've got time, temperature and speed. So Thermomix recipes are always laid out with those these 3 dials. And it's exactly the same when you cook. It's always a process of how long you cook something for, what sort of temperature, and how often you have to stir it. But that's the great thing with these machines, because the Thermomix stirs for you. So it enables you to be a lot more hands-off or hands-free. Then if we swipe across, we've got our functions. So you've got access to about 25 different modes. I'm not going to go through them all, but you've got a dough mode, so you can make bread. You've got a rice cooker on there. You've got a blender. You've got a sous vide. You can slow cook. You can heat up your leftovers. You can thicken sauces. And one of my favourite functions as a chef, I have split so many hollandaise and béarnaise sauces. No more. I just chuck everything all in. 8 minutes later, I've got a perfect hollandaise sauce out, which you can also reheat as well, or you can hold it at the correct temperature. Rhiannon says she's only got one screen sharing. I don't understand that. Okay, you've got a fermentation mode, which we will see a little bit later. Fantastic for making yogurt with. I think I mentioned slow cooker, and now we've got the potato peeling mode as well. So it will even peel your root vegetables for you, which is super clever and very handy actually. So the other day when I was sitting down working at my laptop, I chucked all my potatoes in here and got them all peeled while I was working away. All right, so that's the screens. Then where it really differs to any sort of other appliance that you've seen is through this guided recipes. So if I just show you an example of how a recipe appears on the screen, this is where it will talk you through the recipe step by step. So if I'm going to do say a risotto, let's just click restart on there. This is just one example of nearly 70,000 recipes. So you've got your recipe, the introduction, you can have a quick look through the ingredients and steps, then you press start cooking, and it's going to tell you exactly what to do. And you can see, if you just press down, you've got these inbuilt weighing scales, which honestly are life-changing. It is incredible how just such a simple thing like that speeds up the whole process of cooking, because you are not going around your kitchen looking for your scales, looking for something extra to weigh with, looking for extra equipment that you then have to wash up at the end. It makes the whole process really much more streamlined. And then, so this is all about sort of layering up ingredients. So we're going to, start off with the Parmesan, then we weigh in the parsley, then you put the lid on, and every single step is there on the screen for you. So if you can read, you can use a Thermomix. You've got 10 seconds on the clock. We're not heating, we're just going to chop. So it says turn the speed selector at the bottom to speed 10, and off it goes, and it will finally chop those ingredients. Then it's asking you to take that out, and then we're going to start with the main risotto. So you're going to put some olive oil in, some onions, some mushrooms, put the lid on. They're going to be chopped up for 5 seconds. Then this is the clever part. Then it's going to cook away. So we're going to saute them now for 3 minutes at 100 degrees, speed 1. So those vegetables are just being sauteed, and while you're doing that, while the Thermomix is doing that, rather, you can just go away and do something else, and you will be amazed what you can do in 3 minutes. Give me 3 minutes, and I'll be running the world. It is there's lots of stuff, even if it's just to sort of go and check in with your kids, or empty the dishwasher, to go and do some laundry, or let the dog out. It just means that you can do lots of different things. And this is why these have been so successful in lockdown with people working from home, because you can be on conference calls and just feeding ingredients in. And then all of a sudden at lunchtime, you get this beautiful soup or, chili or curry out, really without you having to do much at all other than just feed in ingredients, which is why one of my customers calls her Thermomix the cookie monster, which I thought was rather lovely earlier when she said that on the group. So that's an example of a recipe. As you can see, we've got sort of 70,000 of them. The other thing that you can do, which is really popular and is one of the big ways you can save money, is you can plan your recipes, plan your week, decide what recipes you want to cook, and then you can just generate a shopping list from those recipes, which you can either take to the supermarket with you, or you can synchronize that with your preferred online shopping provider. And those ingredients will be delivered directly to your door. And I have customers who have told me that facility alone, that gives them sort of full control over planning, allows them to save £50 to £60 a week against what they were previously buying. And that's because you've got everything laid out, makes it very easy. So this is all controlled through an app called Cookie Do. Cookie Do you can have on your phone, on your tablet, or through the website. And it's through that app that you control exactly what you want, whether you want to plan out what you want to plan out for the week or for the month or for even the year ahead if you're that organized. I'm not. I'm much more of a spontaneous cook. And then you can also save recipes to various different folders and get really organized. So if, for example, you have a look at my recipes very quickly on here, I've got my collections that I've created. I don't know what it looks like. Oh yes, there's a really good view of my screen. And you've got stuff, so for example, my baking folder. I've got 98 recipes there already stored, available at the touch of a button. She says, hopefully, with all 3 children upstairs on using the Wi-Fi. So you can scroll down and think, oh, you see, you can get really organised. And I fancy doing that tea bread. I've had it in my collection for a while. I've done it a few times. I just click on it and off we go. So not only can you make your own folders up, you can also save entire recipe books to your Cookie Do app for them to be available on the screen. So we've got our saved collections here. And as you can see, I've got access to all the cookery books that I just go through periodically and have a look through Cookie Do and think, oh, that looks good, I'm going to save that. So that then, the app then syncs to your machine and you get access to all these cookery books at the touch of a button as well. Not only that, now you can store your own recipes. So you've got this created recipe function. You can put your own recipes into Cookie Do as well. So they will appear on the screen, which is really popular with chefs actually. And it was very funny at the conference a few weeks ago, because the Hairy Bikers are ambassadors for us now. And they were saying that they used to have recipes written all up their arms and on Post-it notes all around TV studios. They don't need to do that anymore because they can put all their recipes in their Thermomix. So that is it, 79,000 recipes now. Gosh, it keeps going up. And so Cookie Do, yes, it does require an annual subscription, and it's £40 a year. But for that, you get access to 79,000 recipes, and it keeps growing every single month. So it's not static. It's a bit like having a magazine subscription to lots of different magazines, and you will no doubt benefit from having Cookie Do, and I think it is fantastic value for money. Okay, so that is, yes.
She's raised her hand. I think she's got a question for you.
Oh, right, please fire away.
Pauline, you just need to unmute. I can't unmute you, I don't believe.
Or maybe that was a mistake. Or if Pauline wants to put the question in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of bread and butter business.
Do you want to ask a question, Pauline? Oh.
No, I think maybe that was it.
Okay.
That's fine. Okay, so we've covered Cookie Do. We've covered a few of the functions of Thermomix. We've covered us. The last thing I need to tell you, which is obviously the most important part, is the price. So the Thermomix is 1149. You can either pay outright or you can spread the payment over 1, 2 or 3 years. So on a 1-year finance plan, you're paying about £100 a month. On a 2-year, it's about 55, and on a 3-year, it's about £36 a month. And the whole purpose of tonight's event really is to show people how much money can be saved with a Thermomix. It is one of the biggest things we hear as advisors. Oh, I'd love one of these machines, but I just can't afford it. And our job as advisors is to show people that yes, it's an investment, but actually that investment pays for itself, and it pays for itself in a relatively quick time frame, even just by doing a few things. So we've picked out some classic recipes tonight that will save you some money off what you're buying already. We're going to show you exactly how, we're going to show you how easy they are, because again, so some of the problems that people have with these is, I don't have time to cook from scratch. Well, that's where the Thermomix comes in, because you absolutely will have time. It makes the cooking process effortless from start to finish and does a lot of the boring processes for you. So it will save you time, it will save you effort, it will save you money. And it really is a no-brainer. And you will be joining hundreds, thousands of owners, the community of owners that have all gone through those similar concerns. Are they going to use it enough to make it worthwhile? And every single person, once their Thermomix arrives, without fail says, why didn't I do this sooner? So food for thought. I'm going to leave that one with you. I'm going to stop talking now, and we are going to start cooking. So first of all, we are going to go over to Sue, who is going to show us the artisan gluten-free loaf. Okay, Claire.
Hello.
Fab.
Okay. So I'm going to cook the gluten-free artisan bread, which is one of the big benefits to me, having gluten-free and dairy-free issues in the family that I need to cater for. Gluten-free bread to buy is very expensive and not always as nice as it might be. So I was really pleased when I discovered this loaf that my teenage son is really happy to eat. So the gluten-free bread recipe, if you can see it on the screen, I'm just going to start cooking there. We start off actually with almonds. So one of the things that this will do is to grind a lot of different things into flour. So effectively, I'm going to start off with 80 grams of almonds it's asking for, and pop those in there. And if we pop the lid on, it's going to direct me through that. And it wants a minute actually on speed 10. So I don't know if you'll be able to hear me talk through that, but I'm just going to, whilst that's doing, just get ready for the next stages of getting my ingredients out. And we'll do that, and I'll show you how quickly it will grind anything into flour. Same thing applies with rice. You can do that into rice flour, which is in one of the gluten-free pizza recipes that I do. But I'm just going to set this off now. So popping on here, turning up to 10.
So while Sue's doing that, perhaps if you're an owner, you could pop in the chat, do you save money with your Thermomix? And if so, if you could give us an idea of how much you think you save since you've had that Thermomix in your kitchen.
Okay, nearly done, 20 seconds to go. And it says, meanwhile on screen, prepare the bacon sheet ready. So we can press the screen and see what the next step is that's coming up. And it just says line a large baking tray, which I've got already here. So if I then click on to next, it will ask me to scrape down the side of the mixing bowl, and you can see, if I show that up to the screen, you can kind of see that is a lovely fine almond flour now. That's done that very quickly in the space of a minute, and that's on the top speed that's required for that. So we'll move on to the next step. And we've got various things to add in now. So I've prepared a few of the ingredients here. So first of all, we've got yeast, 2 teaspoons of yeast, or if you want to use the fresh yeast, you can use 20 grams of crumbled fresh yeast. So popping that in. And then we go to the gluten-free flour. So this is actually the free from gluten-free plain white flour. Interestingly, there are actually recipes on Cookie Dough where you can make your own blend of flours from raw ingredients to that. So there's lots of flexibility in terms of what you can do for gluten-free options. But I'm just going to weigh it in out of here. It's measuring it as I go. And we want 400 grams. So just putting that in, hoping that I hit the right spot. There we go, just about. So that's the flour. And then on the next thing we need is some oil. So olive oil is going to weigh in 60 grams. I'm just pouring that in. Oh, nearly. And if we click next, we need 300 grams of sparkling water. So this gets some air into it and actually gives it, helps it to rise. So I'm just going to pour in 300 grams of sparkling water. Again, that's just weighing it in. So we don't have to worry about measuring volume, it just does it all on weight. 300, there or thereabouts. Okay. And then next we've got 2 large eggs. So just breaking a couple of eggs in. The problem with a lot of gluten-free breads is they can go very dry very quickly. So this is a really nice recipe because it doesn't do that and doesn't taste like a brick. And then in here, I've got a few ingredients that are pre-prepared, which obviously is something that you can do whilst it's busy doing something. You can kind of gather your other ingredients ready to make it speed the process up. So we've got a tablespoon of sugar, a tablespoon of xanthan gum. Now that is, I've just got that, I don't know if you can see that one. That's the one that I'm using. You can get it in bigger quantities online. Actually, sometimes that works well for this sort of thing, just to save some cost in there. And we also use baking powder. So again, I've got the same brand here of gluten-free baking powder and a teaspoon of fine salt. And that's all going to go in there together. And then basically that is going on. Insert the measuring cup. And the instruction then is 5 minutes on knead. So basically, you might think that making bread is a hard thing to do, but that literally does the process for me. I can get home from work, I can do one in the morning and set it going. It's going to take 5 minutes to knead it perfectly, and then we can follow the next process.
We've got a question in the chat from Christelle saying, how long does this keep fresh for? Because she eats a gluten-free diet, so would really like to try this recipe.
What was the question? Sorry, I can't hear.
That's all right. Christelle wants to know how long the bread will keep fresh for, because she eats a gluten-free diet and really...
Yeah, that is a really good question. Actually, I find this one works for 2 or 3 days, no problem. But what I prefer to do before it gets too old is I actually slice it up and pop it in the freezer. And that just gives it a bit longer. But I have to say it lasts pretty well compared with some other gluten-free breads. But they will densify a little bit if you keep them out for too long. So that's my best tip, but easily a few days. Any other questions?
Do you want to come back to me now while it's kneading away?
Good idea, yeah.
Okay, so we are going to go from Sue just muted herself. So from gluten-free breads to sort of traditional bread. So I'm just going to show you a very quick dough that I make regularly. So this is the pizza dough. So I'll bring you close to my screen. I use my own pizza dough recipe, which I actually haven't, embarrassingly enough, got round to putting in my own created recipes folder, but I have it on good authority from lots of my customers. It was the very first recipe they input. So I'm just going to show you how the recipe sort of looks on Cookie Dough. So let's have a look. So let's go and then you'll see me just interfere with all the ingredients and quantities. So let's just, can you see that? It's not too much glare on there, maybe. Right, so that's my pizza dough recipe start. So let's quit that. Quit the one that was in there. Right, so it talks me through every step. So it's going to say grease a large bowl with oil and set aside. Well, I do things slightly differently, as my team and customers know you well for. So I'm going to show you what I do in place of that. And then it's going to say weigh some water in. So I'm going to start by putting my water in. I'm going to do sort of half my usual recipe because I made a batch of dough earlier, so it's ready for you. So let's just put in, you're going to think I've gone bonkers because it says 220 and I'm already not doing half of that. but there we go. I usually use about 300 ml of water. So I'm just doing half of that, which is obviously 150. Then it's going to ask for some sugar. Where's my sugar? Let's put the sugar in. So a little bit of sugar. And it's funny, when you start making your own bread, you realise actually if you go to places like Pizza Express and Prezzo and taste their dough, and Domino's as well, if you order Domino's pizza, you will notice how sweet their dough tastes compared to dough that you make yourself, because we can control the sugar content. So again, that's a really big tick for healthy eating. You can control your ingredients, you control the salt and the sugar content. Right, so now we're going to put some yeast in. It's asking for fresh yeast, so I'm going to use some dried yeast. And the general rule of thumb is that you use half the quantity, half the weight of dried yeast that you would use of fresh yeast. So I'm just going to put in a teaspoon because I'm going to use about 250 grams of bread flour. Now here, the Thermomix wants me to put the lid on, and then it's going to mix the liquid and the sugar and the yeast together. In principle, I just don't bother with that step. It's just 20 seconds that I don't need to do. So I'm going to go straight in with putting my flour in. So in my flour goes. So this is just regular wheat flour. What am I on? I want to do about 250 grams of that wheat flour is going in. Somebody's going to say, you haven't weighed out your ingredients. I'm going to get into trouble. And then some olive oil. Now, the cookie dough recipe asks for olive oil. I often don't put the olive oil in, actually, and it's fine without it, but you can add it if you want to. And then some salt. So a teaspoon or so of salt. I'm going to use this pink Himalayan salt for just some extra minerals. Oh, have we got off mute? So the salt goes in, and then very much like Sue has on her Thermomix, make a measuring cup off another bowl. It says put the lid on, and then the knead function automatically comes on. So when you're on a guided recipe, whichever function is needed in the recipe automatically comes on, and then you've got your time on the clock, and then this dial is enlarged. And then whichever dial is enlarged, this silver button here will operate. So I'm just going to twist the button, and then it will start the knead function. It's going to knead away for 2 minutes. So most dough recipes will only have a 2-minute knead, which is amazing. I mean, I've been making my own bread for years. I love making bread. I used to do it in a KitchenAid, and it would take 10-15 minutes to knead through properly. But now I can just pop my dough in there, and most breads will knead within a couple of minutes. Obviously, the gluten-free bread is slightly different. So I'm going to leave that kneading away, and then I'm just going to show you.
I was going to say you could come back, Lindsay, if you want.
Oh, come back. Yeah. No, I'll go back to Sue. That's a good idea. Yeah.
Okay. Am I on screen? Can you see? Yeah, brilliant. Okay, great. So that's been a 5-minute knead for this one, and I'll just show you that now. It's all well mixed in together. One of the things you have to be aware of is that a lot of the gluten-free doughs are not like a traditional dough. They're actually a lot wetter. So it can sometimes seem like a bit of a job to kind of get all of that out, but we're basically going to turn it all out onto this prepared baking tray, and then bring it up into a dome shape. So I'm just going to pile this on, and you can see that it is quite on the wet side compared with a dough. You wouldn't want to be kind of wrapping your hands around that too much. You'd get very sticky very quickly. So just keep getting that out there. And then what we actually do is to dome it up into a shape. And the instructions for this, even though this is outside of the Thermomix, as it were, the instructions for every step are all spelt out on the screen, so it tells you exactly what to do. So just scrape that out onto there, and then if I go to next on the screen, it says there you tip it out onto a prepared baking tray, and then dome it up with a knife. So I'm just using a palette knife, and if you can see it on the screen, it's like a big. Wait a minute. I'm going to basically dome it up and smooth it around, so that you can get the idea of the shape of it. You can obviously do different shapes, but this will produce a nice rounded loaf, and we can just kind of work that and get it how we want it. Okay, so just stopping that there. And then the next step is to pop 3 slits in with a sharp knife. So again, we just wet that and pop 3 slits in, and then we cover it. It'll say on here, cover it with oiled cling film. So I actually reuse the same piece of cling film. I don't use cling film a lot, but just it's ready used, and because I do it on a regular basis, I just fold that up and store it, and then I can use that again. So we're going to cover that over and leave it to prove, which is in a warm place for approximately an hour until it's roughly doubled in size. Yeah, true Blue Peter style. I have one that I made earlier. So if I set that on one side, you can then see this is the one that I whipped up once I dashed in from work today to get ready for the demo, and you can see that that has risen a lot already. The slits have kind of widened. So if I can now continue the recipe with this one that's kind of sat for an hour already. I've got a baking dish in the bottom of the oven, which we're going to pour some hot water in. I'll just boil my kettle. And next it says, so once risen, we brush it with beaten large egg, which I've got here. So basically just do a quick egg wash. Now I don't always do this actually. Sometimes I'll probably use a bit of almond milk and just kind of brown it with that. But I have got the egg today, which will just give it a nice brown colour. So just washing it over. And then the other thing that we do before it goes in the oven is just to add some seeds. So again, that's kind of optional. It actually asks for sesame seeds, and I've only got mixed seeds in here. There are sesame seeds in there, but they're a mix. So we like our seeds, so I'll just kind of sprinkle those over the top of that. And then that's all ready to go in the oven. So I'm going to pop that on the top shelf of the oven, and then pour some boiling water into the baking tray underneath, and that will get the steam rising. And then I'll shut the oven door as quickly as I can and leave it. As I say, all these instructions are on the screen here. It's going to cook for 40 to 50 minutes. I tend to find about 45 is about right in my oven, but obviously you can flex that a little bit. So I shall get that in the oven and turn you back to Lindsay for her next step.
Well, it is a delicious recipe. I've done that in many demos, and we've had a lot of owners buy Thermomixes that are gluten-free just on the strength of this particular artisan bread. And it saves them money, and you know exactly what's in it. The trouble with a lot of gluten-free products that you buy in the supermarkets, they're full of rubbish. So with this, you can control exactly what's in it, and you know it's only good, healthy, wholesome ingredients that go into it. Right, so my dough has kneaded through, so I've got my sort of raw dough here, which you can see comes out of the Thermomix bowl beautifully, only on a 2-minute knead. What I do with that, so once that comes out, in order to speed up the proof, what I do, and you're just going to have to bear with me for a moment and just sort of pretend, I'm just going to talk you through the process. I'm going to put my bowl back into the Thermomix, and then I usually put some water in that bowl, put the lid on, and then we're going to force prove it. So we're going to sort of prove this more quickly, which is a really handy technique if you're sort of rushing. And you know, sometimes you get them from, and I was at a demo again the other day, and people are like, oh, this is genius. Because the thing that puts me off pizza dough is that they think about it slightly too late in the day. And by that point, then you've got to leave it to rise for an hour, and it's all starting to get a little bit too late for the kids' dinner. But this way, you can actually prove your dough in about half an hour. So what I do is when I've got my raw dough, I wrap it up in a silicone mat. So here's one I made earlier. So this one is already proven. You can see the difference between them. That's the one that hasn't had the time to prove, and that one is lovely and puffy. So I sort of wrap it up. Let's just get that one out. Wrap it up in the silicone mat like that. Pop it into my baroma here. Stick the lid on. And then I've got water in this Thermomix bowl, and I just go back to my 3 dials at the start, and I program it for about 30 minutes. So turn that round till you get to 30. Then about 70 degrees. And this is the bowl temperature, will be at 70 degrees, but up here it's going to be about 37 to 40, which is optimum temperature for fermentation. So, you know, don't worry, we're not killing any yeast because we've got 70 degrees. That 70 degrees is controlling this bowl temperature. And then about speed 2. So I just do speed 2 and then leave it to prove in that way for half an hour. And after about half an hour, you get this out, this lovely sort of really puffy, beautiful dough. I'm going to show you a couple of things with this dough to do. First of all, really popular, that people are always amazed by is dough balls. Now, dough balls cost, I think the last time I looked, we don't really buy them because they're just so easy to make when you've got a Thermomix. But obviously, if you buy them in a restaurant, they're going to be even more expensive. But I think the last time I looked, dough balls were something like £3.50 for a small box of about 20. And that would feed probably a couple of people. So for a family of 6, you're looking at, you know, nearly 10 quid just to buy some dough balls, when you can make it for about 40p. So to make dough balls, I just cut a section of dough off. Hopefully you can see this on my close-up. And then I'm just going to roll it into like a rope, just like this. So just a long sort of sausage shape, like this. And then all I'm going to do is just cut sections off. Just cut along that length, making sections of dough. Let's just come back into shot on the screen. I've only been doing this for 2 years. I can't believe I've only just worked out how to get my MacBook hooked up so that you can see it. And then I've got a little baking sheet here with a piece of reusable silicone parchment on it, and I'm just going to drop them on like this, pop them on. And then stick them in the oven for about 5 minutes, and that is it. And then, of course, you can make your own garlic butter to go with it. And it's often something we do at demos, face-to-face demos, and we've done them at the online demo. We've done it at the online demo as well, making garlic butter, making butter and then turning it into garlic butter. So there's my dough balls. So I've got my oven at about 180. I'm just going to stick them in the oven. Right, put my baking parchment is so old, it's sort of split in half. And then time about 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes, but usually around 5. So that's all dough balls are. I mean, it's ridiculous. It couldn't be easier. It's absolutely ridiculous. The second one I was going to show you is sort of stuffed dough balls, which my son went to Pizza Express in half term and had, and he was really delighted with them. And then he came back and said, well, actually, you can do them. They're quite easy to do at home. So I'm just going to show you part of the recipe from the Christmas tree pull-apart bread. So if I just go and find on my Thermomix screen, Christmas tree pull-apart bread, and I'm just going to talk you through the, if I can actually spell it. Okay, Christmas. So this is how you search for a recipe that's on Cookie Do. Christmas tree pull-apart bread. And again, we've done this at many demos and it's always really popular. This is a great crowd pleaser. You can see the picture on the screen. You can actually do these little dough balls and set them out as a Christmas tree. There is an Easter one, I believe, that looks like a sheep. So, or you can just set them in a ring. And they're really effective. They taste really good. So I'm just going to click start cooking and go. And again, it's just going to talk me through the process of making the dough. So I'm going to ignore that because we're going to make the dough first. We've done the dough. So I'm just going to click through. There's the knead function. And then it's going to ask us to make the filling. So we're just going to make a little garlicky sort of Parmesan mozzarella cheese filling. You see my screen okay? Yeah, there we go. So it's asking for Parmesan cheese. I'm probably just going to do half of the recipe actually. Now, again, great top cost saving tip. Grated Parmesan, when I was looking in Asda a few weeks ago to buy a little plastic packet of grated Parmesan, it was something like £18 a kilo. I buy, all Thermomix owners do this, we buy really cheap, the cheap Grana Padano or the Italian hard cheese. You can buy Parmesan if you want to. And we grate our own Parmesan in the Thermomix. So the Parmesan that you get that's ready grated tends to be consisting of all sorts, lots of shavings, you know, bits of the cheese that they obviously can't sell as lumps, and they charge you more for it, they charge you a premium for it. So I tend to buy the Grana Padano, which is about £11 a kilo, and just grate it up using the Thermomix in about 10 seconds. The other thing that you can do is grate your Parmesan rinds up, which you would never normally do. I used to reserve the rinds and put them in soups and stocks and things like that, just to add a bit of flavour and seasoning to them. But now I don't bother with that because I can actually just grate up the rinds as well. So it's asking me for some Parmesan. So I'll just stick in some Parmesan and then click on next, put the lid on. And you've got 10 seconds on the clock. Now, it might take a bit longer than this because this cheese is really, really hard. So I'll just take a few, but it's going to make a very loud noise and then it should go on mute for a second. And then it will say transfer to a bowl. Well, I sort of break all the rules, so I'm not going to bother with that. So that's my grated Parmesan. And then I'm going to add a garlic clove. So 1 garlic clove in there. Put the lid on. And now it's going to chop the garlic clove up with the cheese. 3 seconds is all it's going to take. Then some mozzarella. So I tend to use a combination of grated mozzarella for this and the ball stuff as well. Just because actually, so I would about 100 grams in total and I'm sort of halving it. Actually, I find that this stuff, it sort of tends to go in a bit of a lump if you try and grate it. So I split it into this grated stuff, which has got a little bit of something in it, which keeps the grated pieces separate. And it tends to work quite well in this recipe. So a little bit of that goes in and lid on again. And then the turbo function is going to come on, just 1 blast. So give it a blast. That's all it takes, a 1 second blast. I'm just going to have a quick look at what happened, what's happened to that. There you go. So it's chopped the mozzarella and the garlic and the Parmesan together. And that is going to be our filling for our dough balls. I'm just going to go back a step because I can still see some sort of long pieces of the grated mozzarella. I'm just going to give it another blast. Okay. If you find your locking arms aren't releasing after you've used your turbo function, you just need to press the home button. Right, that's my dough balls that are ready. So there we go. So I've got my filling. So what I need to do now, if I just move that back, I'm just going to check my dough balls actually. Oh, yeah. Ooh, they're looking good. Rolling off. They're alive. Oh, there we go. They've all rolled off. Anyway, I'm going to let them all roll off into shot with the camera. So there's my dough balls straight out the oven. There we go. Keep them there. Now, what I'm going to do is just show you sort of a stuffed dough ball as an alternative. So I want to take off about 25 gram portions. I need a bowl to weigh with. Clean bowl and a measuring cup. And I'm just going to set my scales on. So I can use this as a set of scales, and actually you can use it as a set of scales even when it's cooking away, as long as the speed isn't above about speed 3. And then I think I need about 25 grams, which isn't much. So let's try that, drop that in. Oh, that's a little bit more. It's about, they don't have to be too precise. Somewhere between 25 and 30 grams is ideal. I'm just going to show you a couple and you'll get the idea. Then I'm just going to got my two here. Start as a round like that. Press it down. This is where you'll probably need a little bit of flour, not too much. And then a roll. Can you just pass me that rolling pin, Neil, please? Can I have the rolling pin? Thank you. Give it a little roll out. Like this. And then what you want to do is get sort of a teaspoon of this mixture, pop it in on the sides of your little dough ball, like that, a bit of squidge. And then you're just going to gather the dough around it. And again, if you want to make smaller ones, then use less dough and put less fillings in. These ones will be quite nice and generous. And then just sort of shape it like that. And then you would just pop that onto a baking sheet. You can arrange them in a nice round. We did something similar at Christmas, I think. Maybe they weren't stuffed actually. Maybe we just did normal dough balls and then we put them around a camembert. Marie did that and it looked lovely. And you bake the camembert in the centre with all your dough balls around the outside, which looks really effective. So there we go. So there's another piece. Don't want to get too much flour on the outside, otherwise you can't roll them. And then, as you can see, I'm just popping in a little bit of my garlicky Parmesan mixture. It smells gorgeous. And if you wanted to, you could add some basil to this and make it sort of cheese and basil and garlic. That'd be a nice little combination, almost sort of pesto-y, and then serve it with some homemade pesto. And then just going to shape it into a round like that. And all you would do, exactly the same process now, is you would just leave them to prove. So I would just pop them onto my baking sheet and start to build up a circle. So while we go to somebody else, I will just continue stuffing a few more. And then we are going to put a little bit of grease cling film over the top, exactly like Sue showed you how to do. And then you can, if you want to prepare this ahead of time, you can put that in the fridge and let them prove very slowly in the fridge. You could prepare it, for example, the night before, if you want to do them for something like packed lunches the next day and just bake them in the morning. You could do it the night before and just leave them to prove sort of slowly overnight. But if you prove them at room temperature, they're going to take sort of half an hour or so, half an hour, 40 minutes just to prove. And then you pop them in the oven and then just bake them according to the recipe. So I think they're only going to take 10, 15 minutes, something like that. So I'll show you what happens after we've shaped all of them. But for now, I'm just going to hand over to, I believe, the lovely Marie's come on camera. So here she is. I'm going to hand over to Marie to show you her favourite stock paste.
Hi everybody. So I'm Marie, as Lindsay said, and I'm going to show you the stock paste tonight.
Marie, I don't think we can hear you very well. Very, very quiet. Now you're silent. Can't hear you at all. Unless anybody else can.
No, I can't. Can you put yourself on speaker instead of using your earpiece, Marie? Maybe.
Yeah, you're absolutely silent. We can't hear you at all, darling. No, still nothing. I'm not singing for you.
If we can't listen, if we can't hear Marie, we'll maybe give you a few moments, see if you can sort out your sound, maybe leave the Zoom, come back again. And then should we go to Sarah?
Go to Sarah, who's not there.
Yeah.
Oh, there she is.
Not there.
She's hiding. You're on mute, Sarah.
Yeah, I know. I've got my unmute myself. There we go. Sorry, my IT boys have disappeared. Right, I'm going to be making the white chocolate chip cookies. I have to say, a bit of a pro at this, as we have Cookie Friday every Friday. I make these every Friday, so it just stops me making them every day. Right, so we're going to start cooking. Sorry, I just had to get it going again. I've just turned the oven on, that's where I was hiding, to 170. Grease 2 baking things, but I've just put some baking sheets down. 120 grams of unsalted butter. Here's some butter that I made earlier. I had some cream going out, so I just made some butter out of it. Very easy to do. Right, so granulated sugar, and actually you put in 100 grams of granulated and 80 grams of the light. I've actually got them all in here together. I did weigh it out earlier, just to speed things up a bit. 1 teaspoon of the vanilla essence. There we go. 1 medium egg that my kind chickens laid earlier. Chickens that we saved from the battery farm. Right, 250 grams of plain flour. We absolutely love these cookies. I make them if the kids have birthdays, or I take them in for their school friends, because they are just so easy and, you know, cheap to make, basically. Right, just bicarbonate of soda. I've got the wrong one out because I've got baking powder out. Oh, sorry, the same spot. There we go. A teaspoon of this. Pinch of fine salt. And actually, I was just looking up at what these cost in the supermarket, and for the Sainsbury's, I'm just going to put this on for 30 seconds. It's £1 for just 4 or 5 cookies. And you can make these. I usually get about 20 out here, which costs about, well, I worked out about £1.40, between £1.40 and £1.50. Which is a no-brainer. I made 2 batches for my son's birthday when he went in. So I had about 60 cookies I managed to have, which cost me £3. Perfect. Did you hear any of that? Because the thing was on.
No, you might just need to say those costings again, Sarah. We didn't hit.
Sorry, I was just saying, Sainsbury's, I was looking earlier, it cost £1 for 4 of the decent sized cookies, and hang on, I've got the cat coming in, and or five cookies, 5 smaller cookies, and these I worked out about between £1.40 and £1.50, and I can get about, I've got 25 cookies. I don't make them massive. I get about 25 cookies out of 1 batch. I sent my son into school with 2 batches of cookies for his birthday over Christmas, and it cost under £3 to give the kids about 3 cookies each, his whole class. So here we go.
Did you put your business card in with them, Sarah, as well?
I did think about it. I thought just warming up. I did the fudge as well for Christmas for all the teachers. That was quite a winner. So now it's just, I put the white chocolate chips in. Now it's just going in, blades are in reverse, just for 20 seconds, stirring them. But my children are obsessed with these, or we are in as well. And that's it. And it says shape into small round balls. Now this is where I think it's quite important that you're shaping. It's all about the shaping. Just take that much out. And when you put them on the baking mat, just make sure they stay in that round ball. Don't squash them down into cookie shape. Just leave them in that round ball. That's one. So yeah, I'll just carry on. I will shape all these cookies. But you can put anything in here. You don't have to put the white chocolate chips. You can put in nuts or seeds, macadamia nuts, hazelnuts, any nuts. You know, you can put anything in you want. Actually, I did marshmallows the other day as well. I put a few marshmallows in with them. So you can use anything that you've got in the cupboard. And they make amazing cookies. Or actually, I did the Ben's chocolate cookies the other day, just for a bit of a change. And yeah, added marshmallows and some nuts to those as well. So that's it for my cookies. I will do these, and then we're going back to Marie.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yay, much better.
Right, okay, sorry about that, everybody. Yeah, I'm here to talk to you about stock paste. If you were a Thermomix owner and you are not making your own stock paste, stop right now and go and make some. It is the simplest thing to do. It packs every meal that you make using it moving forward, full of flavour. And on this group, they tend to, you know, call me the sort of zero food waste person all the time. It's something that I'm really passionate about. And I make my veg stock paste with lovely veggie leftovers like this. So the recipe that is actually on the Thermomix has got, I'll bring you down to the Thermi, has got instructions saying well, obviously what to add, but also in the hints and tips it does say that you can use any selection of vegetables that you want, so you can replace it with anything. So it also means that your veg stock paste is going to be seasonal. So to start off with, it wants 50 grams of Parmesan cheese. You can miss this out if you're vegan, that's not a problem at all, or even if you haven't got any, it's not a problem. But I have got some, and as Lindsay was saying, this is actually the rinds off of some Parmesan that I have left over. So I'm just going to pop them in there and pop that on. Grating Parmesan cheese is probably the noisiest thing that you will ever do, but it only takes 10 seconds. So we're just going to pop that into a bowl and pop that to one side for the moment. And then the instructions tell me that we want 200 grams of celery stalks, 250 grams of carrots, 100 grams of onions, some tomatoes, courgettes and mushrooms. And then it goes on to garlic and herbs. Excuse me. So what that means is you want 700 grams of vegetables, and they can be any vegetables really that you've got going. So I've got some cauliflower stalk and some cauliflower leaves here. I've got the rinds off of a butternut squash, and I've got a couple of good chunks of butternut squash here to go in as well. And you don't even have to really be very careful with how these are chopped up. It is incredibly rough.
Marie, got a question
Hello.
in the chat saying, are there any veg that would not be good to add, such as brassicas,
Excuse me.
when you finish coughing?
First of all, you couldn't hear me, and then you can hear me doing all the wrong things. I have used lots of things like broccoli and Brussels, so no issues with those. You will find in most stock cubes that you buy from the shops, the main component of them is onion and potato starch. So anything that you add to your stock paste is going to be more nutritious for you than what you get in the shops. So don't very often peel carrots, but we had some carrots in a salad and they were peeled for that. So I've got some carrot peelings there. They're going in because all of the nutrients are actually in the skins of things. We've got some tomatoes, a few green beans, a bit of red pepper there that's left over. And this one is the one that always makes people wince, or not so much my team now because they've seen me do it 1,000 times, but onions. The white of your onion contains only half the amount of nutrients that all of your onion skins contain. So your onion skins actually contain vitamins A, E and C in higher quantities than the actual onion itself. It's got antioxidants and anti-inflammatories in it that aren't actually even contained in the onion. So the onion skin is better for you than, and it's completely edible. It's just hard to eat on its own. But when it goes into a veg stock, it's boiled down to such a point that actually it doesn't matter anyway. So please, please, please don't throw your onion skins away. Get that nutrition in you. So the next thing it wants is a clove of garlic, and then it wants 1 or 2 dried bay leaves. Well, these are straight out of my garden, so it's another freebie. And then some fresh herbs. Again, I've got a little bit of sage, a little bit of rosemary, and a little bit of thyme. Again, all out the garden, so it's not costing me anything. So all of that veg that's gone in there is what would have either been thrown away, or for me would have gone into my composter, which is the biggest issue that I've had since getting a Thermomix. My composter is not happy with me anymore. Sorry, I'm putting the lid on there already. Next, we're just going to put that on for a quick chop, and it tells you to put your spatula through the hole in the top. Your spatula with this wonderful collar, when you're using your proper spatula, will never come into contact with the blades when you put it in, because of that collar stopping it going in. So it's a really good design on that. So I'm just going to turn that round. It's just going to chop that for 10 seconds. And all that's done is mushed that down, giving it a really rough chop to give it the starting point before we add the liquid and the further contents to it. So you can see that's now just all chopped veg. Let me just tell you, the stock that you buy in the shops, the majority of it, especially the old dried stock cubes, has about 8%, 8 to 15% if you buy the really good quality ones, of vegetable in it. Everything else is filler. The majority of it is salt. So this has got about 95% vegetable in it. So huge difference, which is also nutritious and packing the flavour in there. So you want now sea salt, or any coarse salt to go in, to be fair. 120 grams is what it asks for. And I am going to put this in. That sounds like a lot of salt, but you're only using a teaspoon of this at a time. So actually, it's not that much when you break it down at all. And just my bit of Parmesan back in there. And it asks for wine. I don't always use wine, but I actually have some wine on hand at the moment. So 30 grams of dry white wine. And then don't have white wine very often at all. So that's a bit of a bonus. Be a particularly tasty one. A little bit of olive oil. And we're just going to pop the lid on and place the simmering basket on top of it. And that's just because it's going to produce quite a bit of steam. And we just want to funnel the steam out of the top, be able to allow that to come out of the top. So it's going to cook for 20 minutes now on Varoma, which is its highest temperature setting. And at the end of that, you'll get this really thick paste. And I'll pop back later on and just show you. Yes, you can absolutely use water instead of wine. That's what I normally do. I don't normally have that on hand, but you know, just happens to be the way today. We'll pop that later on and just show you what that's going to look like. So from me now, we are handing over to. We hand it over to now.
To me.
No.
Yeah. Hi everyone.
Okay.
So today I'm making the prawn chow mein, which is a quite a popular takeaway dish. And what I've done some prepping just to make it easier for the demonstration. So what I've done is I've already prepared the noodles, so they're all ready and waiting. Yeah. I've got my stir fry veg in there already. I've got my prawns peeled. I've got my water. I've got my homemade stock ready as well. And that, so I'm going to start the recipe. Now I'm going to go through it because I've done some of the steps already. So just go through that. But basically, you can do that. Now, when I bought the prawns, this recipe says to use the shells and that, but when I bought the prawns, they were already peeled. So I've done a quick hack. So what you can do is add some fish sauce to some water, and that'll give you a similar flavour to what you would get if you were going to make a prawn broth. So that's a really quick hack, especially if you don't like peeling prawns. And I've already done the noodles. Now I'm making half the recipe because the recipe is for 6 people, but there's only 3 of us. So I'm halving the recipe. It's really easy to do with this. So I've already prepared 250 grams of water. And what I did was already put this the fish sauce in there, so it's all ready for the broth. Okay, no, I forgot that. I didn't need to do that. So that's that. So if you were doing the shells, you'd use the straining broth and everything. So I'm not doing that. So I'm just going to put the. So I'm not making the broth. I'm actually going to put the onions and the garlic cloves in. And 70 grams of olive oil. So I'm using half, so I'm going to put 35 grams of olive oil. If it goes slightly over, you don't need to worry. It makes it so much easier to have weighing scales that are inbuilt. Then it's just going to chop it. Scrape down the sides. Can you see how quickly it's chopped the onions and the garlic? And then it's going to cook for 5 minutes on speed 1. So while it's cooking for 5 minutes, I'm going to pass to Linda.
Hi. Okay, so I'm going to be doing the broccoli and cauliflower gratin. I've tried it. I tried it last week, and it's really, really delicious. So what I've done as well is that because it's sort of including leftovers, etc., I've got some chicken that I need to use up, and so I can make it into a proper, into a meat meal, or it can be a vegetarian meal. Basically, everything is prepared because we're just trying to save on the time. So it's asking me to add some garlic. So I'm putting that in. And then it's about 100 grams of bread, which I've got here. And this is making the topping for the gratin. So put that all in there. So we then go next. I mean, you can use gluten-free bread as well. So you can make it a gluten-free topping also. And then 10 grams of fresh parsley. That's going in. And then we go on to 50 grams of Parmesan. Now, this is not grated. It's asking me to put it in, it's asking me to put it in little bits, in small cubes. So I'll pop that in there. And then we go next into the next bit. It's asking me to put the lid on, which I'll do, and the top. And then I go next again and it's then saying 2 seconds on speed selector 3, up to 5 times. So that means that it's actually incorporating it all into the topping for the next bit. So I'm turning it on, and then I do it again. So it's pulsing it to make the topping. So it's incorporating all the ingredients to make sure that. Okay, so go next. So what that's done there, if you can see, it's made a really nice topping, incorporate everything in there. And so it smells really nice and garlicky. So I'm now going to pop in the another jug, just so that I don't have to transfer it. And it'll be, we're now going to make the bechamel sauce. Now, I don't know whether you've looked at a jar of bechamel sauce that you can buy. It is so full of so many ingredients that you wouldn't believe. This is all fresh ingredients, and it will make such a nice sauce, but it's also a lot healthy. It doesn't have the additives, and it certainly doesn't have any preservatives, etc. in it. And it just creates a really nice sauce, creamy sauce that you can make quite quickly. So it's asking me at the minute to put in 40 grams of butter, or you can use olive oil. I've got butter. All our Thermomix people, you all know, we all make our own butter. And so therefore, this is butter that I made earlier today. And that is now going into the jug. And next will be 40 grams of plain flour. I've also put the salt in here just to make, just to sort of save time. So that's now going in. And a pinch of salt, which is already in the flour. And then I've got half a teaspoon of ground nutmeg. And I'm now going to put the lid on and measuring cup. And that'll take 5 seconds. I'm going to turn it around to you, and it'll chop it all up. Okay, so we go next. I'm now going to add the milk. So I don't know whether you've ever made a sauce before, but thing is, when you make a sauce in your Thermomix, you don't get a lumpy sauce, so you get a really smooth, creamy consistency. So put that in there like that, and I'm now going to turn that round, and it's 7 minutes at 90 degrees, and it's on dial 3, and it's now going to cook for 7 minutes. Okay, so the prawns, the onions have now cooked. So I'm going to go to the next step of the prawn chow mein. So it's saying to add 50 grams of white wine. That. It's just going to do that for 2 minutes on speed 1. And when I did the costings, I worked out that for 3 people,
the whole meal works out at £8.31. So that's £2.77 a portion. If you buy it from the takeaway, it's £5.60 per person. So you've saved a lot of money by making the chow mein at home by yourself. And also, you've got no monosodium glutamate in it. Sometimes MSG, is called, can give you a headache. So because you're making it at home, you're not using that as a preservative. So it can help you to reduce your if you get headaches when you have Chinese meals from a takeaway. Sometimes the culprit is the MSG that they use. So it makes sure that you're not doing that. And the other thing is, if you had a vegetarian, you just omit the prawns and you could put more vegetables in. So you can chop and change the recipe. And that's what I like about the Thermomix. I'm a bit like Lindsay, I'll change ingredients. If I don't have one ingredient, I'll change it for something else. I like to add lib recipes. You know, like my children don't like wine, so if I don't have wine, sometimes I'll use wine vinegar or I'll use water. So all that makes a difference when you're cooking it yourself. You can add ingredients, take them away. And also in takeaways, they'll use like pre-packed curry paste or something, which possibly have preservatives in it. When you make it yourself at home and you make it using the home cooked stock and everything, you know exactly what you've put into it. And also you're reducing your use of plastic. So it's finished doing that. So now I'm going to add the frozen vegetables. These were great because I already had the bean sprouts in, so I've not had to buy them separate. We don't like celery, so I'm not putting that in. So again, you can choose what you put in. If you don't like an ingredient, you can omit it or substitute for something else. So now it's going to cook this for 6 minutes on the stirring speed, which is really great. So I'll pass it back to Linda.
Okay, so I've still got a couple of minutes to go on my bechamel sauce. I've done my chicken, my leftover chicken, so I've put the chicken in there. Bechamel sauce will go over the top of that, and I have pre-cooked my broccoli and cauliflower. Now you can, with any gratin, you can actually use any vegetables, seasonal vegetables. So if you've got anything left over, leeks, carrots, anything vegetable-wise that you want to put in there, you can use it. So it's all about saving on the different ingredients. You know, so you're not wasting the things that you have actually in your larder and in your fridge. So a gratin can be, it doesn't have to be the particular one that we're cooking cauliflower and broccoli, but I'm sticking to the recipe so that we can, do that. So as I say, it's all about using the ingredients that you have and any meat that you might want to make it into a bit more of a substantial meal. If you're vegetarian, obviously then you don't put the meat in. I cooked it last week, and all I did with it, I just chopped up some bacon, put the bacon on the top of the topping, and it tasted absolutely delicious. But it's good for vegetarians and meat eaters as well. So I'm just got 55 seconds left for my bechamel sauce, which is still making away there.
You're doing a brilliant job at trying to fill, Linda.
Oh, no, sorry.
But I'll just cover a bit of cost savings for you, because I often talk about bechamel, and it costs about 80p to make, I think, about a litre of the stuff, I seem to recall. And then the Dolmio jars are about £3 or £3.50 in the supermarket for about 600 grams. So it really is a no-brainer when you make it yourself. And when it's so easy, I mean, there's always a temptation there. If it's not that easy and you have to get your pan out and you make your roux and then you have to whisk it for 15 minutes. Sometimes if you're time poor, you just think, right, I'll reach for that jar. It would just make it quick and easy. But actually, you don't have that problem when you've got a Thermomix, because you can just chuck everything in, don't have to make your roux, chuck it all in, weigh it all in, and then click thicken, and 7 or 8 minutes later, you've got a perfect bechamel sauce out ready to use. And one thing I learned yesterday when I was doing a welcome visit for a customer is you can actually reheat bechamel in the Thermomix using the reheat function in the whisk, which I didn't know, because actually, and that is kind of a game changer, because it's quite difficult to reheat bechamel sauce. It will set. Yeah, I was every day's a learning day when you've got a Thermomix. There's always something new to learn, and that's what's great about being part of the community, because we've got so many experts, and even our customers, we learn from our customers as well. And so, if you're into food or want to become more into food, it is a great way to learn about that as well. Right, so I'll go back to Linda now.
Right, so so I've done my bechamel sauce. You can see it is absolutely lump free. I mean, a lot of when you make sauce, it's always that fear that you're going to end up with a lumpy sauce. So what it tells me to do is to pour it into my container here. As I say, for dinner tonight, I have put some leftover chicken in there. So the next thing is to say preheat the oven, which I've already done, and steam the vegetables, which I've already done. So what I need to do now, I'll just pop these. So I've got my cauliflower and my broccoli. I'm going to pop that in on top of the chicken and spread it out. It's all done really nicely like that. And then next thing it will ask me to I'm just going through, because obviously this is the steaming bit, and normally you would steam it for about 14 minutes. Absolutely perfect, because the broccoli is still nice and green and the cauliflower is great. So then put in on the top of that, I'm now going to put in the topping. So that will now go on top of the broccoli and cauliflower. So pop that all in there. Going to spread it over the top so that will now bake and go really nice and golden brown. And you can see there, I'm now going to pop that in the oven and it will taste delicious. Thank you. 10 to 15 minutes.
Hi, so back here, this is literally just finishing off now the stock post. I'm just going to show you a quick and easy way to decant it and what it looks like to finish off with. There we go, just in time. Steaming your jars as well. You need to make sure if you're doing anything, jams or preservatives at all, you are steaming and sterilising your jars in advance. Really simple with a Thermomix again, because you can steam them in your varoma beforehand. So just another use for it. And if you'll notice here, this stock paste that I've already got done and made is quite green in colour. That was probably got a lot of winter greens and things like that in there. This one you'll notice, because it has the small carrots, butternut squash, and parsnips and things like that in. It's a lovely orangey colour. So when I say that your stock paste will be seasonal, it really it just, it is perfect, because it just makes use of whatever you have to hand at the time. So your lid off of the top of your Thermomix bowl. If you're going to decant anything, any jams, any mayonnaise, anything into jars, stock paste included, just bring it down here a little bit so you can see. Use your lid, and you're going to place it over the neck of the jar. You see that there? So it's literally sitting over the neck of the jar with the hole in the top. And that way, when you decant your paste, you don't need to worry about where it's going, because if it goes anywhere, it's just going to land on the lid. And then you can just scrape it straight off the lid and straight into the jar. I think I may have overfilled the jar there, but there we go. I have. There we go. I made a right mess then. So I've overfilled the jar. But the idea is that you do that and you are not going to make a mess like I just have. So that's a good tip if you follow it and you do it properly. But if you see the difference there in the colour, and as I say, that's just making use of seasonal veggies to hand. But the stock paste works out to be, these are really popular ways of buying your stock now, these little stock pots. 8 of those Knorr stock pots, they work out at £1.75, I think I looked today in Asda and Tesco's, just for 8. From a jar, well, from what we've made tonight, which will make 2 jars of the stock paste, you'll get about 50 servings, and that doesn't even equivalent to a penny a pot, whereas these are going to work out to be about 22 pence a pot. So, you know, it really has, when I say that stock paste is effectively free when you use your leftover veggies, it really, really is. And it's just a simple way of getting added nutrition, massive amounts of flavour into every meal that you're going to make moving forward. And it's all but free for you. So don't throw those veggie peelings away, make use of those. And that's all for me. And we're going to head back over to Taruna and her chow mein.
So what I've done is, I've done the next step. I've added the prawns, the prawn broth, soy sauce in there. And then I just need to stir it with a spatula. So you can see I've got the prawns, I've got the veg and the broth, everything in there. Put the lid on. And then I really love this function because what it does is it reverses the way it's doing it. So the prawns aren't going to go all mushy, and it's going to do that for 3 minutes. I'll pass it to Lindsay to talk about the yogurt.
You're on mute, Lindsay.
So you caught me out because I'm just eating Doughballs. But while people are working away, I've just made my own pizza actually for dinner tonight. How easy was that using the dough we've just made? So there we go. That's about to go in the oven as well. Let me just stick that in before I do that.
Lindsay, quick question, not related to pizza or Doughballs. Pauline's asked if you can use lower fat creams to make butter, and I didn't know the answer. I always thought it was full fat cream, but I thought, well, you'll know the answer.
I don't know what a lower fat cream is.
That's like leftover wine, isn't it? It's not a real thing.
You can only use double cream, I believe. You need the fat content there for butter.
Right, that's what I thought, but I wasn't sure. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So I'm going to really quickly do some yogurt. Yogurt is such an easy thing to make in a Thermomix, and is one of the biggest ways you can save money, especially if you've got lots of kids that eat yogurt. So creamy vanilla yogurt, my favorite recipe. Let's just move this onto the screen so that you can see it. I'm just going to whiz through the actual recipe on here, and then I've got some yogurt mixture that I made earlier, so I'll show you what to do with it. Right, it's asking you to just weigh out some yogurt starter. So what I do, here's the last pot of my previous batch of yogurt here. It's looking a little bit worse for wear because I actually left it out of the fridge for about 3 days. I just found it lurking in the bottom of my bag. That's absolutely fine. I'm going to re-ferment it. Right, so that's my natural yogurt that I would just weigh out. I don't bother with that. I just tend to chuck the whole jar of my previous batch in. Then we're just going to weigh in a litre, I always use UHT milk. Litre of milk goes into my measuring bowl. So the whole thing goes in. I frequently will double up my recipe. I've got 2 Thermomix, there she goes, showing off. In fact, I've got more than 2. I've currently got 5. You don't have to buy 5, by the way. And I am going to, I always do 2 litres at a time. I can get 2 litres worth of cream in milk and cream in here, and then make about 20 pots of yoghurt. My kids, I got 4 of them, bless their hearts. Yoghurt a day, 28 yogurts a week, call it 30 for the sake of argument. Some of them do have 2 a day. You can imagine what my plastic waste used to look like before I used to start making my own yoghurt. I could fill bin bags with just Muller yoghurt pots. Don't have that anymore. Use these beautiful reusable glass jars that I dishwasher, then I sterilise in the oven prior to making them. So you'll see behind me, I don't know if you'll pick this out, got all my jars that I just out the dishwasher, sterilised in the oven, ready and waiting to be filled.
Christelle's asking, could she use almond milk and Alpro yogurt?
So you need a live yogurt starter. If you're going to make non-dairy yogurt, you will need to get a proper non-dairy starter culture, which are easily available on Amazon. There's lots of different dairy-free yogurts on Cookie Dough that you can play around with. You can use coconut yogurt as well. Okay, so it's asking me for a vanilla pod. I frequently can't be bothered to put a vanilla pod in there, so I just use a bit of a squeezy tube like that. Then I like to add a little bit of cream, and often I have cream that is slightly past its best. So I just weigh in, I tend to weigh in about 100 grams or so of cream, maybe 100, 150 grams of cream, just use up whatever cream I've got lurking around in the bottom of my pot. There we go. So that gets rid of that. Might just scrape that out because goodness, oh no, I cannot leave stuff lurking around a pot. So let's get a not my garlic flavoured spatula, that would not be a good idea. Pop that in, lid. So lid on. And it says without the measuring cup. So we're going to let the skim, this is going to heat up to 80 degrees. Now, interestingly enough, there are 2 schools of thought on this. If you use UHT milk, you don't technically need to do this, because the idea is you sort of almost pasteurising the milk to start with before you put your yogurt culture in, and UHT is obviously ultra heat treated, so it's ready pasteurised. However, I find it keeps longer if I heat the milk up first. So I'm just going to set it off to heat. Turn speed selector to speed 3. Mixing it. That's why I might not put that in. So off I go, and it's going to heat up for 10 minutes, up to 80 degrees. And pretend it's done all that, and just stop that. And then here's one I did earlier. It has actually cooled down quite substantially now. That won't matter. Then it says the next instructions, after that 10 minutes, allow to cool in the mixing bowl until the temperature reaches 45 degrees. And you can tell that because on your temperature dial, if you go back to your home screen, it will register a temperature on here. Now I've gone way down below 40 degrees, 45 degrees, but it won't matter. The reason you don't want it more than that is when you put the live yogurt in, you're going to kill it. So you need to have it round about sort of 40 degrees or under. Back into my recipe. Then it will say remove the vanilla pod. Well, I don't need to do that because I didn't put it in the first place. And then I'm just going to add my yogurt starter. So my yogurt starter go in like that. Take it out. Now some full cream milk powder. I double up the full cream milk powder, and this I think is the secret to getting beautifully set yogurt. So got about 100 grams. I can't find full cream milk powder. I just use the skim milk powder that I buy in butter in massive bags like this. So that's a 2 kilogram bag, but you can just use skim milk powder in the supermarket. I mean, it's really not very much at all for, I think I paid about £10 for that. And then some sugar. I actually put the sugar in to this batch when I heated it up. Again, you don't have to put the sugar in. If you are watching your sugar intake, leave it out. You may want to increase the sugar slightly. I tend to put, if I'm doing 2 litres of milk at a time, I tend to put about 60 grams of sugar in. It's just enough to sweeten it slightly, but you work out at about a teaspoon of sugar a pot. So it's healthier. And then the other thing I do is I just pop in a probiotic or a couple of probiotic capsules. So these are just probiotics, standard probiotics. Just open them up, put them in. As long as they're live cultures, it's all increasing the health of bacteria in there. And then you are going to mix. So you've got 5 seconds on the clock, no temperature, mix, speed 4. So just give it a little mix. And then all it's going to ask me to do is pop these into my yogurt jars. So here's my yogurt jar. I'm just going to show one of them for you. Pour it in. So you would put in all of you would fill up all your yogurt jars, all, 10 of them that sit within the Varoma. Now, Thermomix do their own yogurt jars. Now, they're not expensive. They're about £12 or so, I think, for a set of 8. These ones I just bought on Amazon. I think I got about maybe 12 jars. I like the size of these. These are ideal for children's lunch boxes. I think these are about 120 mil, 110, 120 mil. Okay, so once you've filled all of the yogurt pots up, it says divide between 8 small glass jars. Then pop the lids on. Then you're going to rinse the bowl out just very quickly. Doesn't have to be perfect. Rinse the bowl out. Pop a new bowl. So just put a bowl on. You put some water in there. I'm not going to do this because this has just got garlicky cheese in there. Put some water in here. A little bit of lemon juice. So I just use the lemon juice out of one of those concentrate bottles. And then put the Varoma in position. So what that means is you're going to put all of your glass jars into the Varoma like this, or obviously full up with their lids on. Then you are going to put the Varoma there with its lid on. And you'll see my fermentation function has come up on here. So you've got 10 hours, 70 degrees, and all I do is click start. So that is going to ferment away overnight. So I always do this just before going to bed. You can alter the time if you want between 8 and 12 hours. It doesn't really matter. Just make sure though that if you're doing this and your yogurt is due to finish at 4 o'clock in the morning, you have your alarm set to low and then it doesn't ring indefinitely. Because I do remember in those early days of being a Thermomix owner being very cross at having to get up at 4 a.m. and turn the Thermomix off. Until some bright spot said you can just turn the volume down and set it to 10 seconds. And then that was quite life-changing actually. I no longer had to get up at 4 and sort my yogurt out. So and then you end up with 10 jars of beautiful fresh creamy yogurt that you can just put in the fridge. It costs about 15p a pot of yogurt. The electricity to run the Thermomix overnight is about £1. All in all, you are halving the price of the yogurt that you buy. And if you're buying fancy Greek yogurts and things like that, again, you are going to see cost savings. This is very close in consistency and taste, I find, to a Muller Corner type yogurt. It's very creamy, it's delicious. It sets really nicely, and you can top them with jam, or you can make a little blueberry compote. Sometimes I put as a little treat those little mini Smarties on. Do like a Smartie corner. You can get some like little sort of puffed rice and things like that. Like, you can sort of replicate what the Muller Corner does, and it's absolutely delicious with homemade lemon curd as well. And lemon curd is an absolute joy to make in the Thermomix. 4 minutes, put everything in. And it mixes away. So a beautiful spoonful or a couple of teaspoons of lemon curd as well. Absolutely delicious. So that is the basis behind homemade yogurt. So not only does it taste great, it's really quick and easy to do. So a batch like that has taken me no longer than sort of 5-10 minutes with explaining to you what I'm doing. And you're saving on all of that plastic waste as well. All these things are reasons why people buy Thermomix. So on that note, I'm just going to hand back to, I think, Taruna. She finished the chow mein to show us the chow mein. Is Taruna there?
So here's the chow mein. Looks just like the short port one. And it didn't take long at all, really. It looks like it did because we're going from one person to the other, but it's been really quick. And it looks delicious. So we'll be enjoying that later on.
So I think, oh, Sarah, should we just show the sort of the finished product? I don't know, Claire, if you
The bread out the oven here.
like everybody's camera. So
Yes.
now there we go. Oh, look, there's Sue first of all.
So that's come out really nicely. Now, whilst you were doing your demos, I was just working out the cost savings quickly. And a typical loaf, actually, so I do occasionally buy gluten-free bread. This is one from Sainsbury's, for example. It's a beef-free whole grain sourdough loaf. Okay, now that costs £3. And as I was working out these costings, I thought, oh, actually, that comes out more expensive. It's £3.54. However, I've just weighed it. And weighing this loaf here is 930 grams compared with 350 grams. So you've got so much more in this particular loaf. And comparatively, for the same weight as you would buy on this one, you would save £1.67 per weight. So it's over 50% savings. And you don't have to eat a lot of gluten-free bread to save significantly and the cost.
Amazing. And you've got no packaging. It looks
exactly delicious. And I'm just going to cut into it, just so that you can actually see it is how the texture of it. So it's nice and springy. You can see that in there. And when my son gets a whiff of this, he'll no doubt be running down for some freshly baked bread with some homemade nut butter or something on it. Yeah, he really likes it. So there you go. You're muted, Sarah.
There she is.
I'm just randomly choosing who to spotlight.
No, sorry. It's not very good with your mouse. There we go. Right. Here's my cookies. And I actually got 40 out of one batch, which is amazing. They're good size. They're good size cookies. We don't want them too big, else we'll be eating too much. So basically, I worked out it's £1 for 5 cookies in Sainsbury's. They're homemade cookies. I've got 40 here, so which costs around between £1.40 and £1.50. So it worked out for 40 of the Sainsbury's cookies would have been £8. This for 40 is about £1. Well, £1.40, £1.50. No brainer, and they are amazing. You know exactly what's in them. They haven't got all preservatives and everything in them and additives. You know exactly what is in them. Now I've just lost a couple because the boys have had some, but yeah, I don't know last very long.
Right, should we see the paste? Marie, you're on camera. I think we saw it anyway, didn't we?
Busy looking in the opposite direction. Yep. So all jarred up. Got 2 full big jars out of that veggie stock paste that's been made today, and between those, that's about 50 portions. And as I say, that would be 50 of these little pots that you'd be using. All that plastic waste, the cardboard that it comes in as well. And as I say, about £1.75 for 8. And this was, well, it's effectively free, really. It's about 30p worth of salt and garlic gone into it. That's it. So it works out less than a penny. These work out about 22p each.
And again, you're saving
this
that
is
plastic
delicious
waste, aren't you?
and packed full of nutrients, and you've got 0 food waste.
And
yeah.
0 waste going in the bin. No plastic going in the bin.
Win.
Stock pots. Yeah. And Linda, let's have a look at yours. Ooh,
wow.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Tonight.
That is
Yeah.
absolutely, I love it. It's so nice. I mean, I don't know, you probably would get 4 large portions out of this. If you were just doing the veggie bit and adding meat to it or something else to it, then you would, get even more value out of it. But I've used leftover chicken, so it is a full meal. So approximately worked it out when I did it last week, that it works out probably around about £1.50 per portion. I mean, if you, it's just a no-brainer to use whatever veg you've got perfect bechamel sauce and a great topping, and you can use your leftover meat to make it something a bit more substantial. So
brilliant, thanks Linda. And then do you want to just pop back to me? So these are my sort of stuffed dough balls. I'm not going to cook them tonight. I'm actually just now going to, they have risen, but I'm going to pop them in the fridge. And then I might actually just use them for tea tomorrow night, which will just make a nice starter. But I've sort of arranged them round in a nice circle, as you can see. So again, I mean, to sort of have these in Pizza Express would cost you an arm and a leg. You can do them easily at home. So that concludes our demo, and it's been a bit of a mammoth one tonight, but actually I hope you've got a lot of value out of it. And then if there are any prospective owners on here, it'd be really interesting just to hear your thoughts. If you want to pop some thoughts in the chat as to how you found the demo. In fact, owners can say it as well. Just give us a sort of a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Let us know what you found, how you found it, and also if you are thinking now about buying a Thermomix, let us know, and then obviously we can put you in touch with the advisor that's invited you to the demo. And if you don't know who that is, then please just come back to me. I will be emailing everybody that's registered. So if you don't know where to go, then please just get back to me. I will send out a link to the recording. We'll put it up on YouTube so you can watch it back. But hopefully you found that fascinating. I mean, we with that hands-on heart, you know, we're all passionate owners here. We've all saved loads of money through having our Thermomix. On the face of it, it looks like a bit, it is a big ticket item, but actually if you pay monthly, you can break it down. And on our 3-year plan, it only costs £8.20 a week, which is just a no-brainer. I mean, you can get that back just on making stock paste. If you're using eight stock pots, that's eight stock pots a week, which is easily done if you're making soups and bolognese sauces and lasagnas and all sorts of stuff, stews, curries. That's £2 a week right there that you save every single week. £8. There you go. That's your monthly repayment on a 3-year plan. So it really does help put things into perspective. And you know, people buy Thermomixes for different reasons. Some people buy it because they're great cooks and it helps them cook more. Others buy it because they don't know how to cook. You know, you'll see this machine on programs like Celebrity or MasterChef The Professionals, Great British Menu, which is on at the moment. You will see them using Thermomixes to make pretty much every sort of an element of every meal that these chefs turn out. So they are used in professional kitchens all around the world by Michelin-starred chefs. They're also used in domestic kitchens by inexperienced cooks and people that don't know how to cook, but want to still eat great meals at home, but with putting less effort in, because you know we're all busy people. So hopefully that's just shown you a few ways in which a Thermomix can be used to make sort of very basic meals and store-covered ingredients and pay for itself. Really, it's all about making the most out of your investment and getting it to save you as much money as possible, which I think is going to be really important over the next year. We're all going to be feeling the squeeze on those food and fuel prices. So thank you to all my team for joining me. Thank you for all of you for bearing with us for a couple of hours. I think it's probably one of our longest demos yet. But I think it was worthwhile just taking you through some of those sort of key ways that you can get the most out of your Thermomix. Good evening and bye everybody. Thank you for coming along. Yeah, thanks Claire, and thanks for running the chat. You've done a great job as usual, keeping everybody entertained.
Stop recording, Minzy.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Recording. Stop.